If you connect with your center, with your you-ness, you know what I mean? It will connect with millions of people who are watching you.
Of the over 6,500,000,000 people who populate the planet Earth, less than 1% fall into the category of famous. It is the mission of this documentary to study and understand the phenomenon of fame by going directly to those the world considers famous, to seek exclusive insight from those who live in the public eye without anonymity, to ask the question, what is it like to be famous? What is it like to be a star? What is it like living with fame?
It's not as if there's a guidebook or something, you don't say, here's your Oscar and here's the guidebook, and start on chapter 3, because it's going to start with how everything in your life is going to change and how all the things you and I have been discussing are going to come into play, and it's tough.
When we sit down each year to watch the Oscars, we are presented with a world of wealth, fame, and beauty. Perhaps many of us dream ourselves of one day becoming famous. But do we really know what their lives are really like in the limelight? In order to understand the mystery surrounding fame, we have brought together a group of celebrities to talk candidly about their lives in the public eye. In addition to speaking with Oscar winners, we will also talk to musicians and actors who are well on their way to becoming famous, to see how well prepared they are for possible stardom. To help us understand the sociological perspective, we spoke with Dr. Joshua Gamson of the University of San Francisco. For years, Dr. Gamson has focused his sociological research on the study of mass media. He is the author of several books on the subject, including Claims to Fame, Celebrity in Contemporary America. Join us for the next hour as we explore the mystery surrounding fame, to what point a person becomes a celebrity, and how the profound loss of anonymity can affect an individual.
I think to be famous in this culture is to be validated.
It's some sense that you have worth. You have value.
The draw of people coming to Hollywood is that they will be recognized, that they could be waiting at a table at a restaurant, or they can be, working at the local Starbucks, and they will be discovered. And, I think that people come to Hollywood with that in mind. And I think that that's a dangerous, dangerous thing.
They're looking for, a lot of times, sort of a stamp of approval almost. And a lot of times it's from television. They want to be on TV. That's the kind of the route to being famous. And TV in this country is a certifier, it's a validator of your worth a lot of times.
There's so many reasons why people are attracted to being an actor first and foremost, and then being a celebrity second.
I think part of it is our society. We like winners, we like champions.
There's the money. I think some people think it comes with money. I think some people think it comes with power. And I think that some people, like I do, want to leave behind a legacy, want to leave behind something that people won't forget them by.
A lot of people feel the need to be recognized, so they must feel unrecognized in some way in their life, and that's the route to it.
To be an actor is to work very hard and to be given a lot of talent. To become a star doesn't necessarily mean that you have a lot of talent. You just have that it.
What is it that drives a person to become famous? Is it the envy of those who already attained fame, or a deep psychological need for attention? And what about those actors who are in the entertainment business simply for the art?
There are a lot of people who really chose the job of acting and have to put up with the loss of anonymity that comes with that job, that craft, or that art form that they want to pursue.
I think it's different for everybody, and I certainly think as the decades, flip by, I think each generation has different reasons for wanting to come in to this business.
I get to do all kinds of different things, be all kinds of people, to shoot guns, I could be a bad guy, I could be a good guy, I can be all these things that I couldn't be in life. I get to sort of play and live through these characters that aren't really real, and that I don't have to take responsibility for what they do. I just play it, it's make-believe.
I think for me there's a little bit of that number 5 kid out of 6, the younger kid thing. Oh, I gotta try harder. Oh, mom and dad are all busy with the older kids. There's lots of studies on siblings and what the younger ones will do to try to get their parents' attention. I think that there was an element of that in my own family dynamic, and not a bad thing. It just resulted in a couple professional performers, me being one of them.
I think a lot of people who are very beautiful are kind of prodded along by other people. You should be an actor, you should be a model, there's that. There's some people who are just clearly incredibly talented, and from the time they were 4, they were making home movies in the backyard, and they were in love with it. Some people feel safer on stage and in front of a camera to embrace the world and open up their heart than they do in real life.
I know for me, the reason why I continued with this career was I realized when I realized that I was mortal and that I was going to die someday, I realized I need to leave something behind. And for me, it was like, I want to be able to, it's kind of like the song Fame, actually. I want to live forever. I wanted to make sure that, that I would be remembered, I guess.
I didn't want to do anything else. Wanted to do this since I was 7. And everyone told me that, first of all, it's not a business to go into. Then they told me that I would never make it, because I was, like a failing student. And I never took my eye off the prize. I never took my eye off what I wanted.
I think fame should be a byproduct of the profession. I think that it's supposed to be a perk that goes with it. If you do well, you're supposed to be able to enjoy some fame, I think.
I come from the theater. I have a master's degree from NYU, and I like to consider myself a classically trained actress, and I could do Chekhov in the Regions or Shakespeare here, And when I started, that's all that mattered, was being really, really talented and being able to transform into any of these arenas. It's unusual for, a classically trained actor to then just kind of the next step television show, and then that's a whole nother set of circumstances. So I have to separate, maybe in this interview, the difference between being an actor and being a celebrity. Because I started as an actor, and the celebrity was just a byproduct of doing what I love.
Whether you actively sought public attention or you made it big with a hit movie or television show, can you be the same person if no matter where you go or what you do, someone is looking at you? How does fame change your life?
Fame changes your life in many ways. It changes your life in the way your family relates to you, in the way your old friends relate to you, in the way your new friends relate to you.
And I never understood that. But again, I can't relate to it. I can't understand. Now, I have 4 siblings. I don't know what life would have been like had one of them suddenly become, you keep using the word famous, I don't think of myself in those terms, but notorious. What would that have been like? And I don't know. I mean, I like to think that nothing would have changed, but I felt a self-consciousness settle into my family, and I certainly felt it among my friends, and as if I had changed, but I hadn't changed at all. I'm still exactly the same. I'm still the same prick I always was.
I was really lucky in that I had a gradual immersion into the world of celebrity. Because I did Whose Line first in Britain, I got known there first. But I would go over there 6 weeks out of the year. So it was just like small doses of I'd notice people start to notice me, and every once in a while someone would buy me a drink or a free dessert. But then I'd go back to Canada where nobody cared at all.
When I first got the practice, there was some recognition with my face, but people didn't know where. So this happened to me once. I was walking down the street and this person stopped me and said, "Hey, you work at the mall, right?" And I went, "No, I don't work at the mall." And she hit me. She went, "You work at the Gap, you know you do." And I'm like, "Ow." And I'm like, "No, I don't work at the Gap." And I just decided to tell her, or else, who knows, she was going to beat me up in the parking lot. So I just said, "No, I'm on The Practice on ABC on Sunday nights at 10. And she was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And she bowed to me with her hands and her head and her eyes and bowed to me like I was royalty. And I was like, "You stand up. I'm the same person you just smacked in the arm a few seconds ago." And I realized right then that, if I had worked at the Gap, I am to be related to one way, but since I'm on television, I'm to be related to another way. And she was embarrassed, and I bet you to this day tells the story about how she embarrassed herself in front of me. And I thought it was really funny and charming and sweet, and I got a lot of mileage out of the story.
Happy Days went on the air in February. I think it was February 4th, 1974. And then in April, I was invited to Little Rock, Arkansas, to make a public appearance at a mall. And I was paid $1,000 to come and sign autographs by their newspaper, by the newspaper down there. I think it was called The Constitution in Arkansas. I finished Friday night. We finished the show. I got on a all-night plane. I arrived in Arkansas. I got off the plane, and there were lots and lots of people in the airport. And I got back on the plane, and I said, "Oh my gosh, they're having a party. I don't want to walk through their party. Is there another way to go around? I don't want to, because I don't want to be intrusive." And they said, No, I think that's for you." And there were 3,000 people met me at the airport at, now it is 1 in the morning, and all in poodle skirts, all these girls in poodle skirts. And it was the first time that I thought, wow, people are watching the show.
It's got to be shocking to walk down the street and have people know who you are when, the day before they didn't. And where it wasn't in your mind that this is the way you wanted to live your life.
It plays with your head, and you need time to distill down what is the truth, what is not the truth about the way people are treating you, what is the truth, what is not the truth about the way you live your life.
As the awards came in and the more recognition, it went from "You're that girl on that show," "You're that girl on The Practice," "Oh, you're Cameron Manheim from The Practice." It was really, really interesting. And because it was such a slow, approach to fame, I was able to really look at it, take a long look at how people were changing and how they were responding and relating to me differently.
I never took it as if it was me. I took it that, oh, they liked the character, but I knew that the character, that there was no way I could live up to that character. So it took a while for it to, to integrate that this was happening, actually.
When on Golden Pond was the movie of the moment, and it was a phenomenally successful movie in 1982. My head would spin with those 3 words, "on Golden Pond," and there was a self-consciousness that I think probably I could imagine driving people crazy, because I would be in a restaurant and I would hear, if I didn't hear "on Golden Pond," I'd hear something that sounded like "on Golden Pond," and so I was thinking, are they talking about "on Golden Pond"? Are they talking about me? Is it me? Are you talking about me? Somebody could say, "What do you think about Goldie Hawn?" I say, "Goldie Hawn goes in Golden Pond." I say, "Golden Pond." It wouldn't matter what it was. I mean, it could be so far removed. I could be out in Montana, and I could hear something that sounded like on Golden Pond, and because I was so used to people talking about it and talking about me, that I would hear my name when my name wasn't being spoken. So that was all kind of weird, and spooky. So I think that's seriously unhealthy, and I think that that obsessiveness that some people do invest in, as I said earlier, it just wasn't for me.
Regardless of whether or not a person is searching for fame, how does someone who has chosen to be an entertainer deal with the newfound stresses it presents?
I do think people adjust, especially people who are well compensated for losing anonymity. People adjust to the life. And I can understand why. It can bring a lot of resources into your life, and money can be freedom too.
In the beginning, it was scary. And I spent a lot of time in my apartment on Laurel Avenue in Hollywood.
Yeah, I didn't like it when it first happened to me. When I first was doing Clarissa Explains It All, well, first of all, you have to understand I was a teenager and I was on what's known as a kids network. So already I was feeling a little uncool. So when people recognized me, I was totally embarrassed that I didn't know how to act. I didn't know what to do. I was shy. I'll talk as soon as you bring up a topic, but just say something like, hey, are you? And I just kind of freeze.
I had all my fan mail delivered to my home, and I read almost every letter because it gave me a task, so I felt like I was accomplishing something, and at the same time kept me indoors. And slowly but surely I went out. When I was first dating my wife, we would be driving and I was waving. And she would say, do you know all those people? I said, no, they're waving at me, I'm waving back, just saying hi back. And people have been incredibly warm to me all over the world for 30 years.
Well, it's something you have to adjust to, because when you first start in the public, and it's mostly the press that really is the hardest adjustment, is the press that write things that aren't true, or that follow you and shoot pictures of you, no matter where you are, or whom you're with, or what you're doing, then they maybe make that some gossipy item. And they did that even when I was a kid, and when I first started in the business, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and they'd make a big deal out of nothing. So that was the hardest thing, was when it wasn't true.
Believing that you are who they are writing that you are. Believing that you are who they imagine who you are. Buying into that. And that is a metaphorical, a metaphysical leech that will bleed your life from you.
I think we're born with certain temperaments, first off. And there's a lot to be said about that. If you are not, if you have a shy demeanor and people frighten you and that's who you are, then being thrown into the arena of celebrity is going to really throw you for a loop.
I think for me, I was always not shy. I was always a big ham. Had I been shy, I think it would have been a very hard transition. But I do believe, I know that I am one of the people. I really try to understand, you're being pushy or you're being much too strong. I'll just say it to you. Don't do that, don't push. But as a rule, I haven't had a problem where they came right in my face.
As I get older and more experienced, I think I'll, be more prepared. The more grounded I am, the more, the more I know myself as a person, because I assume it can affect you and throw you off as a person, So I don't know if I'm prepared. I don't know whoever is.
But you do have to get used to it, because it's part of the life. It's the life of the fishbowl.
My theory's always been, if I tell everybody everything to a certain point, if I'm honest with the press and whatnot about certain things, they're not going to come trying to dig stuff out. They're not going to look in my past, and they're not going to follow me around and stalk me because they're trying to figure something out about me, because I'll let you know what I'm doing, what I like, what I don't like, who I've dated, what I've done, that kind of thing.
I think it's stupid not to expect that you're going to lose anonymity when you become famous, but I also think it's kind of stupid not to try to fight that, to fight for some zone of privacy.
it can be very scary to be a celebrity. You know, I imagine, you know, I look at somebody like Tom Cruise, who couldn't be more gracious and genuine every time you meet him. He's just as lovely as can be, but imagine going out to a restaurant and being him. I mean, at some point, it has to finally, it's enough, you know? And you build up barriers and boundaries and your own boundaries, how to deal with it.
I can't eat alone. For instance, to this day, I walk in the restaurant, I have to take someone to sit and talk to me. People do stare at you, or they want an autograph in the middle of a bite, or I want to take a picture just as you start to eat. So it would be nice of them not to do that, but since they're not going to. But I find with me, I can say, do you mind waiting till I finish dinner? And as a rule, you don't have a problem. If you have a problem, it's easier to sign it than it is to create a problem. It's just easier to sign the autograph, and by the time you said no, you could have signed it.
When considering the elements of fame and how it is created, how does the average fan fit into the equation?
I think of a fan as someone who is interested in and pays attention to the life of a particular famous person. That can be reverent interest or it can be irreverent interest. They still are attached in some way emotionally to a particular person that they don't actually know.
I think you'd have to ask, why is there a God in some people's minds? Why are there religions? Why do we need to have something to look to? What's wrong with ourselves? What's wrong with our lives that we're not fulfilled enough, that we can't get by without having someone to pay homage to?
It's just in our bones, it's in our blood to be kind of thrilled with celebrities. And so I know that about me, and I can't imagine asking other people to be any different or asking them to behave differently, so I get it.
There's a lot of effort to establish an intimacy between fans and celebrities. A lot of effort put out by media, by celebrities themselves, by the celebrity industry, as a way of getting people, you know, attached to the star. There's a lot of writing and TV shows and so on that are about how the stars are just like you, and you know this person. There's a lot of first name, talking about people by their first name or by their nickname. J-Lo and Ben. I don't know these people. Nobody calls me by my first name if they don't know me.
I think 80% of the people, 90% of the people are nice to me.
Yes, most of them aren't imposing. Most of them really hold their distance and, hi Mickey and hi Jan, and we love to see their smiling faces, and it brings joy to us to see that they remembered some of Mickey's wonderful movies or maybe have seen our show. And we like that.
We love it.
I have never had anybody challenge me. I was never challenged as a tough guy. My wife and I walking down the street, Broadway, New York City, a gang came up to us and asked us if we wanted to buy some Reds or Black Beauties or something like that. And some of the, you know, either uppers or downers, I don't know, sideways. But we said no, and then one of them said, hey, are you Henry Winkler? I said, I am, yeah. Is this Mrs. Winkler? Yes, it is. Hey, Rodney, back off. Give the man some breathing room. And I'm telling you that these people who would have eaten me for lunch, all of a sudden became my bodyguards and made sure that our walk was unobstructed through New York.
When I was on my book tour, very, very interesting. I did like 17 cities in 21 days. And the first day, I thought I was going to have to go into the hospital. I was so exhausted. It was just mind-boggling to me how a 2-hour signing could exhaust me in such a way. And what I found out was people would come up and they would introduce themselves. My name is Cindy, and I just love you so much. And they would start to grab my hand and pull me toward them. They're like, oh, I just think you're fantastic. And in a way, they were like sucking the life out of me. They were just taking everything I had, not just my eyes and my voice, but like my body too. And I was, you know, it was really fascinating. By the end of the 2 hours, I was like, I have nothing left, you know? And I realized I had to change the rules. And the rules, instead of you coming at me, I reached out my hand, I shaked it, I gave you a nice big, nice to meet you, and I pushed you away without you even knowing I did it. So nice to meet you. And I pushed you away. And it was just, it's a psychological, emotional way for me to protect myself with them getting what they needed, but I couldn't let them just drag the life out of me.
From working with Drew, I have to say, he is amazing. We went, when the show was first happening, he would take us on vacations every year because he's rich and can do that. So one year he took everyone down to Disney World, and we went out for dinner with him, and every 3 minutes during dinner, someone would come up and ask for an autograph. And he would get up, he would sign the autograph, take pictures with them. They'd go off and he'd sit down and go back to his meal. And I'd say, Drew, how? Yeah, isn't this, he goes, these are the people who gave me my career. They're watching me, so they're giving me money, and there's no way I'm not going to give them a piece of my time.
My favorite moments are when moms come up to me and say, you know, your show's the only one I let my kids watch, or it's the only one I'll watch with my kids. That's always a great compliment. And I love, like, the other day I was at a party and a little girl came up to me and said, you're a fantastic actress. And that, to me, just melted I was like, oh, that's so nice to hear. You know, there's the people that feel that way, and then there's the other people that are like, oh my God, you're you know, you're that girl.
That's the deal. And if I want to be this thing called famous, and I want to have the wealth that often comes along with that, or the opportunities that come along with that, I'm going to be giving up, you know, I'm going to be going places and people are going to treat me differently, and it's not all going to be good.
It would run the gamut from people being very nice and just coming up and say, I just want to say how much I enjoy your show, to people like grabbing you and do something funny for me. And, well, you know, I've never gone up to a plumber and say, you know, fix a pipe for me here in the street.
I think movie stars are held at kind of an arm's distance because they're bigger than life, they're on the big screen, they show up in these great movies, they do these fantastic things. Television stars are in your house every day. You hear their voices in the background while you're cooking pasta, or you know, the family sits down to watch before they go to bed. And it's like you're visiting with them for a little while. And people forget that I don't know who they are. You know, they sometimes they get offended if you're like, I'm sorry, do I know you? You know, and everybody knows my name, so if I hear Melissa, I'm gonna turn thinking it's someone I know, and if it's someone I don't know, I'm looking at them like, do I know you? Have we met? You know, and they think that I should know who they are, and that's a tough place to be.
Some of that probably comes from being told all the time that the fans make the star. You can watch any awards show and the celebrities will be saying, thank you for making me who I am, without you I'm nothing, you made me, you made me, you made me.
People forget that you're just an individual and that you cope with things like they do every day.
I really assimilate into, you know, the world like a regular person. I go to my kids' preschool. I teach sign language there to a bunch of 3- and 4-year-olds. They don't know who I am. You know, they don't pay attention to me. They frustrate and annoy me, and they don't care that I'm famous. You know, and after you get to know me and you're over for dinner or you're my neighbor, I really just become, you know, your next door neighbor. It just, it happens very kind of organically that way. But people who don't get to interact with me on a regular basis see me as this TV star, and they think of me as a different, you know, as one of the royals, I guess.
My home is a very safe place for me, and it feels like a normal life. I have a wife and a child, both of whom I love deeply, and you know, we go on vacations, we do normal everyday things. We worry about him in school, we worry about money and whatever everybody else worries about.
I can see it from both sides. I see it from the fan who wants something from you, because I am a fan. I am a fan of wonderful actors and wonderful musicians and great athletes, and you know, and I want to touch them and suck the life out of them. I get it. And then I see it from the position where people need to protect themselves.
I can understand why people would think when you're being told that you made the person and you kind of own them a little bit. So people, I think, behave as though they actually, it's almost, to me, it feels like almost people think they own a piece of that other person.
I think fans express this kind of ownership over a performer because this performer has moved them in some profound way.
I think fans think that they have a certain stake in it. They helped you get where you are, so they think that they have this stake in your career, and it's true. They really do. But you don't know who they. It doesn't change the fact that I don't see their face every day, and I don't know who they are.
Everybody's interested in someone that they adore. I loved Katharine Hepburn. I wanted to know all about Katharine Hepburn, and I wanted to know about Spitzer Tracy, and even if it wasn't any of my business, I was very interested in understanding it. I didn't understand why they couldn't get together, why they couldn't make a life together, and so I was very interested in that. I buy every book. And so the public are interested in you, and that's what makes stars, is that people are interested in you. It's the way it's done.
It's the intrigue. It's people's intrigue it's gossip. I think the whole industry right now is being run on gossip, on the fact that people like gossip and voyeurism. You know, people just, they're nosy.
A lot of people just thrive on bad things. They want to hear, did you hear this? And they were there.
That's what makes the gossip
You know, I don't believe that the educated, intelligent people really bother with all of that.
So we learn ways, whether it to be very curt, avert your eyes. You know, some celebrities accept you by just opening up their bodies and their eyes, and and opening up their arms to you. And others have ways of just cutting you off, that you are not invited into my personal space. And that's just, physical ways. And then there's verbal ways that they do it. And then there's ways by having a posse around them. And then there's the security guards. And it's really how they just keep you away, because that on an ongoing basis you wouldn't leave the house.
It seems the whole concept of fame can become something of a curse if it is attained too quickly. Like any new experience, is it possible to become addicted to the newfound attention of the public?
I think it's possible to get drawn off and to be really hooked on the renown and the applause. I think it's possible to have that become so much more important and so much more energizing than the coming up with the new thing.
You can totally get wrapped up. You can totally think, I'm amazing, I'm incredible, look at all I've got. You might not believe it, but you're gonna play the part.
You start to believe you're invincible in a way.
You want so badly to believe that you are the greatest, you are the best.
It's a combination of the person taking on an air and the people treating them as if they really are a different class of citizen.
One thing I've noticed is you start expecting, it's like, well, why do I have to stand in line? I'm on television. And that's a real danger.
The power that you think you have as a celebrity, it's a mirage. If you believe you've got that power and you start to wield that power, people resent you have that power, and they will try then to undermine the power. They will try to drain it away from you.
You know, you had suggested this business about taking things seriously. I don't take a lot of things seriously. I think you'd be crazy to in this business. And the thing I take least seriously of all is myself.
And I did. You know, my wife accused me that for 25 and a half years of our 26 year of marriage. Do you know? Yeah, and I'm finally now learning what, get out of your own way, buddy.
Inside of every actor is someone who is already addicted to the applause and the attention. I mean, it's an attention business. You know, whether you start on stage or what, it's the applause, it's the attention. I mean, you know, when you start in the theater and you're doing well and you're getting a response, it feels very good. It feels you're being acknowledged, and it's a sort of a high, you know. So somewhere every performer has that inside of them. That's what they need. That's what they want.
I always have humbling experiences. So it always reminds me, like, we were, Deb and I were having a vacation. We were going to see some theater, and this woman came up and said, with a camera, and said, do you mind take a picture? I went, oh, sure. So I stand there, and she gives me the camera, and she stands with her friend. So I quickly go, oh, I knew that's what you meant. But I thought, oh, yes, of course. Why would I assume that everybody in the world knows who I am? So those things happen to me regularly. And, you know, I've got it. I understand.
What I realized was, as I was walking by storefront windows, whoop, I haven't grown an inch being famous. I'm still 5'6½". I actually don't know any more than I did yesterday. I'm not smarter now that I'm a star. So if that's true, you better keep this in perspective, and you cannot believe your own press.
I grew up in New York, where people keep you real, and they tell it like it is, and you know, you're as special as the next person on the subway. You know, it doesn't, you know, I just never thought I was better than anyone else, and I just think I'm different than everybody else, and you know, I know there's 5,000 people out there that can do what I do and do what I do, and then there's people that can't do it, but they somehow get the jobs, you know, more than I do, and it keeps you humble.
Along with all of this comes a big responsibility. So some people don't like that, and they can't absorb it at all, and they'd like to give it all up. But once you're famous, so you might as well adjust to it and find your way through it to a happy place. It takes probably 10 years. It took me about 7 years to get used to being stared at.
No matter who you are, you need help. In the beginning, I had Gary Marshall, I had Ron Howard, I had Tom Miller, I had Eddie Milkis. These were, even Ron Howard, who is 10 years younger than I am, was older than I was. This was a kid who was so centered, he was already an old soul, an old adult. So I had these people around me who I could talk to, who kept me on the straight and narrow path. You need help.
For most people, there's a social freedom we all enjoy. To walk down a street without being noticed as one of thousands in the course of a normal day. But for the famous, this can be impossible through the loss of their own personal anonymity.
I think by definition, when you become famous, you give up anonymity. That's inherent in it.
And when you lose that privacy, it's a big loss. And then you're stunned that you can no longer walk down the street, and that does bother you.
One thing you give up when you become a performer that has some level of success is you give up a life that resembles other people's lives. And I think that can make it difficult to create new songs, new plays, new screenplays, new stories that reflect their lives back to them. That's one thing that can happen.
I can't really imagine what it's like. I'm sure that it must be invading and something to deal with that you can't really be prepared for.
I think to most people, having boundaries around their private life is important. I think, you know, not being able to go places and, I guess, do what you want, not be bothered by others.
You know, it's like you're on court, you know, that expression of you're no longer watching, you're on court, and so you're open to, you know, people taking shots at you from different angles, whether it be positive or negative, because you're in the public eye, you're in the public, you're, you know, tabloids, all these things, which can be, I imagine, very uncomfortable.
I think the real story is that there's a trade-off between one kind of freedom and another kind of freedom. And people either see it or they don't see it.
So far, I feel I've given up certain kinds of rewards that other people have. So far, children, a dog, a pet, house plants. Those are things.
But that hurts, doesn't it?
House plants don't hurt so much. That's okay. I'm doing all right without the house plants. Yeah, but that's how it is now. That's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. I don't know that I'm going to say that 5, 10 years from now. I don't know. Maybe I'll make a different arrangement with things. But that's the downside of it. So far, I'm willing to make the deal. But it's a deal. Got to know it. It's a deal.
It's certainly not the case that being a celebrity has no freedoms attached, because it's heavily rewarded. If you really make it, money, I really believe, is a lot, gives you a lot of freedom.
Because I'm famous, I don't have to worry about money right now. I don't know, that might change in the future, but I'm famous and I have a beautiful home. I'm able to help my friends and family. I know that my son will have money to go to college. I know that if I were to be sick, or anyone else I love were sick, no one's going to turn me away for fear of not having health insurance.
On the other hand, you're trading that for a loss of other kinds of everyday freedoms, like walking down the street without being bothered.
Sometimes I feel, because I'm so politically outspoken, there are people who have a lot of anger toward me for things that I say. And because I have a son, I feel it even more, strongly. And, I am out there walking through airports by myself, out on the street, and there are people who really have strong feelings about some of my political beliefs. And so that's a little frightening. Also, paparazzi will come around your house and take photographs, and then they're printed in a magazine where somebody could find it. If your house is particularly, defined or unique in any way, people could find them. And we all know there's been some tragedies along the way. So that's always in the back of my head.
You wanted the dream, so the dream came true. Now you have to live within that dream with finding your own reality.
It is hard to predict what the future might hold for any celebrity, with the highs and lows which are so prevalent in Hollywood. How does a professional in the entertainment industry maintain any sort of optimism during their downtimes?
I think over a period of time, especially in a celebrity system like the current one, where things move very quickly and there are new people coming up all the time. There are tons of outlets, so there's lots of contestants for consumers' attention. It's not that hard to disappear and get yourself off the map.
Nobody really understands the beast anymore. My show, after 8 years, has ended, and I'm back into the pool of entertainment looking for a job, and it's a different landscape now than it was 10 years ago. 10 years ago, coming out of an hour drama with a slew of awards like I have would be a ticket to a brighter future. But now it's different, and it keeps changing and evolving.
You don't let it get you down when you're rejected over and over again. You keep a way to keep going and be positive about it. And keep reminding yourself why you want to do it in the first place.
A celebrity is jettisoned into the world, especially now, how many shows are there on the air? Entertainment Tonight, Access Hollywood, Extra. Now there's going to be The Insider, which is going to show the same footage that everyone else is showing. So that's corporate. The magazines, that's corporate. I mean, even the Star magazine now looks like People magazine. Do you know? But on the same hand, on the same thought, a celebrity is jettisoned because they are great.
I think what's different today is these franchises, like the Lindsay Lohans and Hilary Duffs, and it started with, I think, the Olsen twins is sort of the model of what everybody's going for these days. Had I had my show on Nickelodeon now, I would not only have my show, I'd be putting out an album, a clothing line, a hair care product, I'd be starring in a movie, I'd be doing a Broadway play.
I mean, ultimately, you need the talent. I say that with hope that you need the talent because there are people that have really entered the fame machine that aren't talented, that are just infamous, you know, for scandals or what have you.
Celebrities are becoming stars now for no reason.
You know, youth is wasted on the young. It's no joke. You know, it takes a while to get to see the overview of living. And the overview, I think, is connecting to the you of you.
People are fickle. They like what's happening now, and they kind of forget you.
Just as the American culture is star hungry, it's also very fickle, and it doesn't allow very much variation in its narrow confines of the acceptance that it gives whoever the famous person is. Now, I don't know if you've talked to many musicians, but when we were kids, you would choose an artist. Someone would appeal to you, the Rolling Stones or whoever it was, Bob Dylan, and you'd become a Bob Dylan loyalist, and you would stay with that guy to today. You know, I still listen to all of their stuff because I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated to see where they're going. They're a little older than I am. I want to find out what lies ahead. I want to find out what's in their minds at this time. Now, from what my teenage son tells me, there's no such thing as that sort of loyalty. It's the MTV 3-minute attention span where, yeah, I kind of like Three Doors Down, but no, now I kind of like you know, Five for Fighting. No, I meant Foo Fighters. No, I meant whatever the band of the moment is. And so I don't know how anybody ever gets a career these days.
Now, I remember being in a department store and the girl yelling my name and pushing Mickey aside because she loved what I did on this show. And I didn't like that. I felt anger a little bit. Of course, I thought, isn't that nice that she noticed me? But there was something deep inside of me that said, we have a man here that has been the integrity of this industry. You're bypassing the star here. I'm not the star by any means. Yes, I did a little something and it was cute and it was nice. And I had to know that, you had to know that that was a little hurtful to Mickey.
The business for me comes and goes, and it's in waves, and that's I think any artist. I think Picasso went through it. I think, like, you know, I think it just happens where one minute you feel like you're on top of the world, and the next minute nobody wants you, and then you've got to do something else to climb back up, you know. And it's like your career just has such highs and lows. And what's so strange about this business is that you don't have the chance for promotion. It's not like the harder you work and the more you're going to get. Necessarily you're going to climb the ladder, you know. You're not necessarily going to end up in the corner office because you put in 70 hours a week and, you know, we're relentless on this client, or, you know, that kind of thing. It's not the typical structure of business, you know. You have to keep proving yourself again and again and recreating yourself, but not so much that your old fans don't follow along, but you can bring in new fans. It's so tricky and difficult, and Madonna's been good at it. You know, there's the few that have really done it, and then there's all the one-hit wonders, and, you know, people that do one TV show or one thing, and that was their thing, and that's it, they're done.
I think that's part of the fickleness of the big picture of fame, and I think that's part of what was a little bit less than appealing about it for me, and I think that perhaps part of why I resisted it. Because I got to tell you, it's not hard to be, once you had a certain taste of fame, it's not hard to continue to feed that. You really can do things. You can have a publicist. You can show up at openings. You can be like Truman Capote. You can write one thing and you can be famous on that for the next 30 years and then never finish anything else and die, if that's what you want to do in your life.
And honestly, in the end, it's not how many awards you win. It's not how many movies you make. It's really how you left the planet. That's how I want to be remembered. That's how I want my son to be remembered. And being famous gives me more opportunities to give on a grander scale.
Too many people are going for the buck. What was the old saying? The buck stops here.
With all the complexities we have covered that are involved with the experience of fame, clearly there must also be an upside to this phenomenon. And if so, what is the good side of fame?
There are a lot of rewards for being a celebrity in this country.
Good tables, you know, free stuff, people throwing love at you wherever you go. It's really great.
I can get my phone calls answered, I can get meetings, I can have scripts read. Doesn't mean I can get a movie made, but at least the door is open to me.
I've gotten to meet some fantastic people, not only in show business, but from every walks of life.
ESPN calls you up, John Barrett. He said, I am going to outfit you, I'm going to dress you, and then I'm going to take you to New Zealand, and I'm going to have you fish for trout for 10 days, and we're going to film you, okay? Can I think about, yes, okay.
I've had so many people, because of that, come up and say, you know, I was going through a horrible divorce, your show really helped me. I was going through chemo, and that half hour was the only thing that kept me sane. Met many people who have gone through terminal diseases and just horrible times, and have talked about how that show has helped them. And for me, that's the best part of celebrity, that because I've been on television, I've helped somebody somewhere for a short time forget their problems.
Whenever I go to like some of these Hollywood parties and stuff, I always want to bring the people that would be most impressed by the situation. Just I get a kick out of it if I see them getting a kick out of it.
There's many things that are great about being in the entertainment business, but the two big ones are when you know that your creativity has meant a lot to people, been useful to them, been helpful to them, been inspirational or comforting to them. There's that. And there's the figuring the thing out in the first place. The minute you turn the Rubik's Cube for the last click. Yeah, man, that's it.
Well, the good side of fame is that you're lucky to be famous.
Well,
the bad side is to not appreciate what you've gotten.
Well, it wouldn't be worthwhile if it wasn't hard work, and what's hard work? My mother used to always say if I complained about anything, she'd always say it's better than digging ditches.
I enjoy, you know, being a celebrity. I like all of the wonderful things that have come to me in my life because I have lived my dream. I have done what I wanted to do since I was 7. I don't take any of that for granted.
It's unbelievable. The people I've worked with, from William Hurt to, you know, just, I mean, some of the best Broadway directors to, you know, Betty Thomas, and just amazing, amazing people. Gary Marshall, you know, just amazing people all around the board that know their stuff and can pass on a little wisdom.
I was very fortunate for me that fame came quite late to me. I don't know if I could have handled it when I was younger. And at this point, I'm, you know, close to middle age, so if it goes, I haven't got much time left anyway, so.
I think it's a tremendously lucky occurrence in one's life to be able to just happen upon the right profession in which you're really happy. And when you stand in the wings of the theater and you hear the music begin, your heart kind of pounds and you're very happy, you're very excited. And when you get on the stage, all your personal life and the troubles disappear, and you're just completely happy because they accept you, they love you. What more could you want than that?
As a final assessment on the phenomenon of fame, it may well rest in the hands of the individuals subjected to a profound loss of anonymity due to a newfound stardom. I'm Garth Bacon. Thanks for watching.
When they make the movie of my life, I hope they get somebody beautiful to play me, somebody eloquent and beautiful to play me when they make the movie of my life. And when they make the movie of my life, I hope they get somebody famous to direct it, somebody famous and a genius to direct it when they make the movie of my life. And everyone will see how hard life's been for me, how much I've overcome to be someone deserving of a motion picture. adventures when they write the book about my life. And when they write the book about my life, I hope they mention I was very good with children, good with the elderly and animals and children when they write the book about my life. And everyone will see they underrated me. Oh, how they disbelieved and misperceived this living saint and tiger woman. They'd show me going to 1,000 stupid movies. And if they really wrote a book about my life, they'd say I read a lot of nothing little novels. And all this is true, and everyone would see my mediocrity, how I deserve to be forgotten just like everybody else. So please don't make a movie of my life. Don't make a musical, don't write me into fiction. I don't deserve any portrayal or depiction. Please just let me live my little, tiny little, sorry little, rotten little, nothing little, as of yet un-Oprah worthy